Hi everyone, my name is Johnny Tladi. This is High Explosion Media, a platform where we will be challenging the burning issues in the Christian community. We will mainly focus on the continental issues and racial issues, the state of inferiority that the children of God find themselves in. In this episode, we are going to cover the state of the ordination in the Old Testament. We are going to cover the process of ordination in the Old Testament. God has given Moses some commands to ordain the Levites in Israel. In other words, the service of Levites were to present before the Lord the sacrifices. Now, God chose the family of Aaron to be the Levites. Now, he gave Moses the commands. He gave him the instruction of which to follow in the process of the ordination. Now, there were measures that were put in place. There were controlling measures that were put in place in order for this process to be success. There were measures that God has given to Moses. There was a plan that Moses had to follow in order for him to ordain the Levites. The family of Aaron were given this opportunity of becoming the Levites in the nation of Israel. Let me take you back. We are talking about the Israelites here. The small portion of the land that was inherited by them. The nation that was chosen by God. The nation that was called in the name of God. By the name of God. So Israel were the chosen nation amongst all the nations. There were many nations in the world, in the entire earth. But God chose Israel for him to take his message, for her to take his message to the nations. Now, he gave them the commandment of which to follow in order for them to be one with him. Now, the first issue that we get is the ordination. Moses was to ordain Aaron and his sons. Aaron and his sons were set apart for a greater mission. Now, when Aaron and his sons were chosen by God to be the Levites, God gave Moses the methods or the method of going about ordaining them. Now, first thing, he was supposed to call the nation to the tent. He was supposed to call the nation to gather where the ordination is going to take place. In other words, they were supposed to come and witness this great service that is taking place. He was calling them in order for them to come and witness the ordination of their Levites. Now, after the gathering of the nation around the tent, Moses was supposed to ordain the tabernacle and everything in it with oil. Before he starts with the actual ordination, he was supposed to ordain the tabernacle. He was supposed to ordain everything in it. He was setting them apart for the Lord. In other words, that was what was said by God in Leviticus 11:44, that be holy, for I am holy. Israel, be holy, for your God, Lord Jehovah, is holy. You are a chosen nation. You are set apart. Be holy. That was that was the symbol of ordaining, of anointing the tabernacle and everything with oil. Now, there was certain clothing that Aaron and his sons were supposed to wear. They were going to be distinguished by the attire that they wore. They were going to be seen by the attire on their body. And there were colors that were chosen for them also. To name few, the purple, white, indigo. So, there were purpose for these colors, because everything in the Old Testament meant something. Every color meant something. We are not there for today. Now, after the clothing of the Levites, Moses was to take the blood from the altar and anoint Aaron on the right ear, right thumb, and the big toe. This was the resemblance of the holiness in the house of the Lord. Now, in order for Aaron and his sons to be ordained as the priests, as the Levites, these measures were to be followed, and not even one of them was to be omitted. Then after that, they will be eating in the tent for 7 days without departing. This is the process that God has given to Moses in order for him to present it to the Levites, that is Aaron and his sons. No one else was supposed to be called a Levite except Aaron and his sons. Now, this was a process that was to be followed, and not even one in this process have to be omitted. And lastly, they were supposed to lay hands on the ram. Aaron and his son, they will lay hands on the ram, and they will utter the shortfalls of the nation, the sins of the nations. The nation were to be presented to God by them. In other words, after laying on of hands on the ram, it was to be delivered out of the camp, outside the city, for it to be devoured by the wild animals. By so doing, the sins of the nation will have been taken away from the nation. It will mean that they are clean. It will mean that they are holy. They can now approach God with thanksgiving in their hearts. If burning incenses, with the sacrifices, that will mean that they are now free to take whatever they want to take to God in prayer. Now the priest was to take all the transgressions, all the pleas of the nation to God in prayer. In other words, he was supposed to go into the Holy of Holies in order to present their sins to God. This process was done only once in a year. So this is, in short, what was happening in the ordination of the priests, of the Levites in Israel. Now, in the next episode, we are going to tackle the issue of the ordination in the New Testament. And stay tuned, more is to come in the channel. And we'll be challenging again the norms of the so-called men of God in ordination pertaining to the New Testament. Shalom, and see you on the next episode. Signing out.